For most people, eye irritation is harmless. Dryness, dust, allergies, fatigue. A little redness usually means nothing serious. But in some parts of the world, there exists a parasite capable of turning the human eye into a living habitat. A worm, alive, moving beneath the surface of the eye while the victim remains fully conscious. And perhaps the most terrifying part is that some people can actually see it moving. The parasite is known as loa loa, often called the African eye worm, a thin parasitic nematode transmitted through the bites of infected deer flies in parts of West and Central Africa. Unlike ordinary infections, this organism does not simply attack tissue and disappear. It survives by traveling through the human body, sometimes beneath the skin, sometimes through muscle tissue, and sometimes across the human eye itself. The process begins with a bite. Small, almost forgettable. A deer fly feeds on human blood and releases microscopic larvae into the skin. At first, nothing feels unusual. The larvae are far too small to notice. But beneath the surface, they begin transforming, growing slowly inside the human body over months, sometimes even years. And during that time, the parasites migrate through tissue almost invisibly. Most victims never realize they are infected until symptoms begin appearing. Swelling beneath the skin, pain, itching, strange sensations moving beneath the flesh. But eventually, for some victims, the parasite reaches the eye. Doctors have documented cases where patients suddenly noticed something disturbing while looking in a mirror. A thin white thread moving beneath the surface of the eye. Alive, sliding slowly across the eyeball, visible in real time. Some victims describe immediate panic. Others initially believe it's a hallucination, because the human brain struggles to process something so unnatural. The eye is one of the most psychologically sensitive parts of the body. Humans instinctively protect it. Any threat involving vision triggers immediate fear. But this is not dust, not an eyelash, not irritation. It is a living parasite moving beneath the conjunctiva of the eye. The worm itself can grow several centimeters long, thin, pale, thread-like. And unlike many parasites that remain hidden, loa loa occasionally becomes visible enough for both victims and doctors to watch it moving beneath the eye tissue. This creates one of the most horrifying medical experiences imaginable. Not only is the parasite inside the body, the victim can actually see it. But despite how terrifying this sounds, the worm is not intentionally attacking the eye. From the parasite's perspective, the human body is simply an environment, a place to survive and reproduce. The eye is only one pathway among many as the organism migrates through tissue searching for suitable conditions. Because parasitic worms survive through movement, migration increases survival chances. And over millions of years, these organisms evolved to travel efficiently through living hosts. Inside the body, adult worms release microscopic offspring known as microfilariae into the bloodstream. These larvae circulate through the human body waiting for another biting fly to continue the cycle, which means the infected human becomes part of the parasite's reproductive system, a temporary host helping the organism spread to new victims. And this is what makes parasitism so evolutionarily powerful. Parasites do not simply consume hosts. They use them, transforming living organisms into biological environments designed to support the parasite's survival. In many infections, symptoms remain relatively mild for long periods. Some people experience only occasional swelling or itching. Others never realize they are infected at all. But in heavier infestations, serious complications can develop. Chronic inflammation, immune reactions, severe swelling, painful tissue migration. And in rare cases, large numbers of parasites inside the body can create dangerous medical complications during treatment itself. Because when parasites die suddenly inside the bloodstream, the immune system may react violently, which means even removing the infection must sometimes be done carefully. Doctors working in tropical medicine describe eye worm cases as psychologically traumatic for patients, not only because of the pain, but because the experience fundamentally changes how people view their own bodies. Victims often develop anxiety surrounding eye irritation, floating sensations, muscle twitching, or unexplained swelling. Because once someone witnesses a living worm inside their eye, ordinary sensations never feel normal again. The mind becomes hyperaware. Every itch feels suspicious. Every movement triggers fear, and the image of the parasite moving across the eye often remains permanently burned into memory. But from a biological perspective, the eye worm is remarkably advanced. Think about what this parasite accomplishes. It survives inside the immune system. It migrates through living tissue. It reproduces within the bloodstream. And it avoids immediately killing the host. Because parasites evolve around one central rule. The host must remain alive long enough for transmission to continue. A dead host ends the cycle. A living host spreads the organism further. And over time, natural selection refined the parasite into an extremely efficient survival system. Scientists continue studying organisms like Loa loa because parasites reveal extraordinary biological adaptations. Researchers analyze how these worms evade immune responses, survive in hostile environments, migrate through tissue, and maintain long-term infections inside living hosts. Understanding these mechanisms helps scientists improve treatments involving immune disorders, inflammatory diseases, parasitic infections, and even surgical research, because horrifying organisms often contain some of nature's most advanced biological solutions. But despite scientific fascination, human psychology responds differently, because parasites trigger fears deeply rooted in evolution. Humans fear contamination, infestation, loss of bodily control, and the eye intensifies those fears dramatically. Vision represents safety, awareness, survival. The idea of a living worm moving across the eye violates something fundamental in the human mind. It transforms one of the body's most protected organs into a habitat for another organism. And instinctively, humans recognize that as terrifying. Cases involving eye worms have been documented for decades across endemic regions. Some patients arrive at clinics already aware of the parasite moving beneath the eye. Others discover it accidentally during medical examinations. And in certain recorded procedures, doctors have physically removed living worms directly from the eye using surgical tools while patients remained awake, slowly pulling the parasite outward millimeter by millimeter. Alive the entire time, still moving, still twisting, even after extraction begins. And while many people assume such infections belong only to remote jungles, global travel has increased the spread of tropical diseases worldwide. Doctors outside endemic regions occasionally encounter patients carrying parasites acquired during international travel, which means organisms once limited to isolated environments now appear in hospitals thousands of miles away. Because parasites travel wherever humans travel, and modern transportation allows ancient organisms to move across continents faster than ever before. But perhaps the most disturbing truth about parasites like the eye worm is how invisible infection initially feels. No dramatic attack, no immediate horror, only a tiny insect bite, something humans experience constantly. And beneath that ordinary moment, an entirely different life form quietly enters the body, growing slowly, migrating silently, remaining hidden until the day the victim notices movement where no movement should ever exist. Inside the eye, right now, somewhere in the forests of Central Africa, another infected fly is searching for blood. And somewhere nearby, someone may brush away an insect without thinking twice, never realizing microscopic larvae may already be entering their skin, beginning a journey through the human body, searching for warmth, searching for survival, and perhaps someday, crossing slowly beneath the surface of a human eye, visible, alive, moving where no living thing should ever move.